Do you want to wake up feeling like you're stepping into who you're meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hope Pedraza, and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome. Hey y'all, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. So today I am giving you a live training that I did about a week ago. And I talked about the connection between your HTMA or your hair tissue and mineral analysis and your human design. So this is really, in my opinion, the best illustration of how I put together the physical body and the energetic emotional body. And I'm going to break down different parts of or different aspects of the HTMA and connect those with different parts of your human design chart and how we can really put these together and look at where we want to support function of the physical body, because of course we do, but then also look at the real root cause of why these things are happening in the physical body, which is looking at your energetic body. So it's looking at how these pieces connect to specifically to your human design and different energy centers and why the minerals are imbalanced at all. So listen in on this training, and I would love to know your thoughts on this and your takeaways. I mean, this is one of the things I love talking about the most, just because I love connecting the dots and I love a good puzzle. I love putting the puzzle pieces together. And so I would say when you're listening to this, it would be helpful if you have your human design chart, or if you're familiar with it, then that would help. But I'll call out a few different aspects of the chart, and it helps to have it just so you can look and really connect to see, if I'm talking to you, or, when I'm talking to you in different parts of your chart. So that would help. But yeah, let's jump in. So how does your human design tie in to the hair, tissue, and mineral analysis? I know you see me talk a lot about the connection with the physical and the energetic body, but the question is, how does it connect, right? How do we make the connections? And the hair tissue and mineral analysis is one of my favorite labs that I do. And I tell everybody, if you can only do one lab, if you could pick one lab to do, that's the one that I would pick. It's the least expensive. It gives some of the most really crucial data, and it's so easy to look at the HTMA alone, like without anything else, and really tie it to what is going on in the energetic emotional body. So that being said, I want to break down a little bit, the little bit of the pieces here, and then we'll kind of put the two together. So what are minerals? First and foremost, most important piece, what are minerals? Minerals are considered the spark plugs in the body, meaning like every reaction in the body starts from minerals. So we have to have mineral as cofactors for vitamins and enzymes and hormones and literally everything that's happening in the body. So this is why, for me, the HTMA is kind of like this foundational piece, and why I like to tie it into the energetic body, we're talking about human design, the chakras, energy centers, whatever word resonates with you with that. But the minerals are such an easy place, because this is literally what's going on at a cellular level. Like when you want to get down to the crux of imbalances in the body, we want to look at minerals and what's going on with minerals. So when we're looking at kind of putting these pieces together, the piece that I love about how the minerals connect with the energetic body, we want to specifically talk about the chakras or the energy centers, again, whichever word resonates for you. Some people are worried about using the word chakra. All of your chakras or your energy centers are correlated with a specific part of the body, specific organ system. So that means that there are certain hormones associated with each of your chakras, looking at the 7 main chakras that run through the body. So when we're looking at the organ systems, all of these are responsible for specific hormones. Hormones are just chemical messengers telling other parts of the body to do something that it wants it to do. So if we think about this connection between the physical and the energetic body, okay, we have the 7 main chakras. Each of these chakras is correlated to an organ system, the physical part of the body. In order for these organ systems to work optimally, we have to have the right balance of minerals. It starts with the minerals. Yes, of course, there's hormones, there's enzymes, there's all these other things happening, but it starts with the minerals. So that's why this is where I start.
the According to traditional Chinese medicine, the balance of yin and yang in the body starts with the endocrine system. The endocrine system is just all your hormones. It's all the glands responsible for it. This is your chakra system. So when we tie this into human design, right, part of the human design system is the chakra system. So if you don't know what human design is essentially your energetic blueprint, right? It puts a lot of things together. And some ancient schools of teaching, like the chakra system, astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalah tree of life, it puts together with things like quantum physics and quantum mechanics and all these kind of modern day teaching, puts it together into a body graph. And this is your energetic blueprint. So this is how you operate on an energetic level. And so your emotions, how you be, your thoughts, your beliefs, your patterns, all of these things are kind of tied up into your energy. And that is affecting how your body is acting on the physical realm. So again, going back to that connection between the two, when we want to look at how the energetic emotional body is affecting our physical body, this is where it starts. Every physical thing that's happening on the body has an energetic or emotional root cause. That's where it happens. The dis-ease in the body, the imbalances in the body all start at this energetic emotional level. There has been some like hang up, some rift in the energy, how the energy is flowing through your body. And that has caused some sort of physical thing to show up on the physical body. So it is really just the stagnation. It's a block of stalling out, stagnation, stuck energy, whatever word you want to put there. So the energy is not flat. Free flow of life force energy isn't flowing through the body, and it's causing physical things to show up right on the physical body, or things to show up on the physical body. So this is why my work is what it is, why I'm putting together my work is really at the intersection of functional medicine and energy medicine. So it's looking at functionally what's happening on the body. Like I love the functional labs, like I mentioned the HTMA a second ago. I love the functional labs. I love to see like specifically physically what's going on in the body. So we have a point where we're like, okay, we've seen the labs, we know what's going on in the physical body. Now let's go deeper, right? We want to talk about root cause. Functional medicine, functional practitioner, we're all about getting to the root cause, but I find that so often we're really missing the crucial piece of what it means to get to the root cause. Like, yes, we want to look at, what's going on in the physical body. But if we really want to get to the real, I'm using air quotes, real root cause, then we want to look at how these physical things showed up in the first place. So it's what is happening energetically or energetically or emotionally in the body. Energetics and emotions, it's all the same. It's all the same thing to cause these physical things to show up, right? So can we really so yes, we're going to support the physical body. We're going to look at the mineral imbalances. We're going to look at what's happening physically, but then we also want to make sure that we're not leaving pieces out to perpetuate this, right? If there's patterns, beliefs, fears, like things where you're living out of alignment with your true design per your human design, this is going to really perpetuate that. You're going to live in this state of dis-ease, meaning there's this kind of imbalance in the body, and it's going to continue. It's going to perpetuate until we get to that root cause. So when we're looking at going back to kind of the original point of this training, we're looking at putting together the energetic emotional body with looking at your human design, and then also looking at your HTMA. Here's how we put the pieces together. There's a few main, and if I'm looking back and forth, it's because I'm looking at notes here to make sure I don't leave anything out. But we're looking at like 3 to 4 main pieces of your human design chart. Now, we can't say that there's, the rest of your chart is not important, but there's really 3 or 4 main pieces that show up that are going to be really evident on an HTMA. So an HTMA is a hair tissue mineral analysis, and this is what I look at to look at your mineral balance. So it's looking at a couple dozen different minerals in the body. It's looking at heavy metals. It's going to look at toxic elements. And then, so it gives you kind of a look at each of those individually. But even more importantly, it's going to look at ratios between these, because it's one thing to just look at minerals at face value. Like, this is what your mineral levels are. It's really only going to tell you so much, because the fact is that these minerals have specific relationships with each other. Some of them are cofactors that work together with other ones. Some of them are antagonists, meaning they kind of are working in reverse, right? So we have to be able to look at the relationships between them, which is why like just doing an HTMA and just looking at your results, like and not really having someone who's trained to look at it, look, it's only going to tell you so much. Like, and two, a lot of them can be really confusing because something that's high on an HTMA doesn't necessarily mean it's elevated in your body. So we want to look at the relationships between these. And this is how I put together with your human design, because we're looking at these relationships. So it's looking at what are your, or how are your organ systems functioning, right? How are your, these different systems in the body functioning? Then we can look at, what potential patterns, beliefs, thoughts, that kind of thing that's stemming from your human design, is kind of linked to these. So I'm going to break down a handful of these. So first, looking at your adrenals. Your adrenals are associated with your root center. So if you're familiar with the chakra system or your energy centers, or the centers in human design, this is kind of all the same thing. So the root center is associated with your adrenals. When we're looking at the HTMA, we're looking specifically at sodium and magnesium. We're looking at the ratio between those two. So if I'm looking at a ratio and I'm seeing if it's really high or it's really low, right? A really low ratio is going to be a big sign that your adrenals are running really sluggishly, like they're struggling. You're kind of in this exhaustive phase and your body is kind of running on empty. If your adrenals are really high, this means that there's really like excessive adrenal activity, meaning like your adrenals are working way too fast and eventually will lead to this exhaustive phase, because your adrenals can kind of, they can run high for so long and then they kind of crash down on the other side. So looking at the adrenal ratio, sodium, magnesium, this is going to give me a look at what's going on with your adrenals. Then we can look at, okay, what aspects of the root center do we need to pull out to figure out what is going on with the center? So about 40% of the population has an undefined root center in human design, meaning it's not colored in. So if you're looking at your human design chart, the root center is at the very bottom, meaning it's not filled in, it's not colored in. This means that 40%, almost half of the population, is basically like constantly taking on pressure from the rest of the population to get things done. And it can be kind of hard to separate like what pressure is coming internally from me and what pressure is coming from like everybody else is putting pressure on me. And so this pressure to do and to get things done and to just constantly be doing, someone with an open root center is really not designed to operate that way, meaning like you're not constantly designed to keep doing and doing because it's coming more from external pressure. And so it's really about learning how to set boundaries first and foremost when you have that center open. It's learning how to distinguish, like determine what is mine and what is somebody else's. Like, where am I taking on pressure from other people to get things done? And where do I have this sort of like internalized pressure to get things done? Because there's a difference. The internalized pressure coming from the inside, meaning like, I know there's things that I need to get done, versus external, like there's pressure on me from the outside to get things done. So the strength or the challenges here of an undefined root is being very susceptible to burnout. Again, you're just going and doing and doing and doing, and then eventually your adrenals are going to be like, I can't do it anymore. And absorbing pressure from your environment, taking pressure from the external environment. And two, it's like actually getting into action, like motivating yourself to get things done can be a struggle too. So there's kind of this push pull force thing happening with an open root center. And so some tips for an open root center. And yes, there are not saying people with a defined root center won't ever experience burnout, because we all know everybody can experience burnout, adrenal burnout. But I find that with an open or an undefined root center, open or undefined root center. So again, that bottom part of your human design chart you're going to be a lot more susceptible to the burnout. So here's the thing, some tips here for people that have an open root center that are going to be more susceptible. And when we're looking at your HTMA, like these numbers are more likely to be off, like not in balance, is first of all, again, getting to know yourself and determining like, where am I like feeling pressure from other people to get things done? Where is this coming from an internal place? And also finding a good way to do this is kind of finding transition activities between tasks to kind of let go of what's not yours. So rather than going from like one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, like have a transition, like go for a walk, right? Go like do some breath work, go do something else in transition to kind of let go of some energy, and kind of then we can determine, okay, what is mine? Where am I feeling pressure for things? Other thing for an open root center or an undefined root center is writing things down can be really helpful. And obviously this can be helpful for everybody, but especially for an undefined root center, writing things down and like your goals, your to-do list, your deadlines. So you have like a visual, like I know what I need to get done. So there doesn't have to be any sort of like internal pressure, external pressure, because you know what you have to get done. And then again, setting boundaries and knowing like at sometimes your root center energy is going to run out and you need to take a breather. So being mindful of how your adrenals work and how it's the root center is this source of like pressure and stability and safety. So when your adrenals are running in overdrive, like you kind of, your body kind of loses that sense of safety, that source of safety coming from that particular center. And it kind of just runs your nervous system like completely out of whack. So the adrenals are going to be a big part of how we can look at, look at what's going on in your HTMA. Let's look at your human design and let's kind of learn about what's happening in your root center. Another place to look for connecting the two is looking at your solar plexus. So your solar plexus is your emotional center in human design. And this is associated with your liver, your detox organs. So on an HTMA, we can look at what's going on with your liver and what's going on with blood sugar regulation. And so about 47, so almost half of us have an undefined or completely open solar plexus or emotional center. The emotional center is one that I talk about with my clients probably the most, because there's just so much happening in this center. This is our center for emotions and emotional processing. And there's a lot going on if we think about it. I love this part of it because if you think about your solar plexus, your emotional center, right, it's correlated with our detox organs, our pancreas, liver, gallbladder, bladder, like all the things that help detox the things out of our bodies. Your emotions, when we are emotionally stuck, emotionally constipated, if you will, when we are not allowing this for the free flow of emotions, we are literally holding on to chemicals, toxins in the body. Like these detox organs cannot function optimally when we have they're stuck, stored, stagnant energy, right? So when I'm looking at the HTMA, I can look at specific minerals to look at what's going on with your blood sugar regulation, what's going on with your liver. So specifically looking at calcium, magnesium, and the ratio between the two. We're looking at cobalt, which is kind of an obscure mineral we don't talk about a whole lot, but it gives a good indication of how your liver is functioning. And then selenium, which is kind of another measure of like, is there inflammation going on? Is there like, how well is your liver functioning? So these are really the four minerals that I would look at and would give me a good indication, like there's something going on with these kind of detox organs and these detox pathways going with blood sugar regulation and your liver. So when you have, I specifically want to call out those who have an undefined emotional center for this one to kind of look at how can we, yes, we're going to support these minerals to help, but then we're also going to look at how can we support the patterns that got us here, right? So we're looking at if you have an undefined solar plexus, this basically means that your solar plexus center is open and you are taking in and amplifying the emotions of other people. So this opens up, like some people can see can see this as like a blessing and a curse, right? Because we're thinking like, well, crap, I'm taking in everybody's emotions all the time, all day long, right? Or it can be a really incredible place for wisdom and learning, right? So there's some gifts to this as well. But the most important thing for people with an emotional center is really intentionally taking responsibility for your emotional health and being able to tune into your emotional space. Again, like I said with the root center, it's like determining what's mine and what's somebody else's, like what emotions are mine and where am I taking on other people's emotions. With an open emotional center, undefined, open or undefined, it's a lot of times it's like one end of the spectrum or the other. So it's like you either feel all the things or you feel none of the things. Like you become completely so emotionally detached that you don't feel anything. So it's usually one of the other. And so I think the power and the gift with an emotional center is that we're able to feel all the things and feel things really deeply, but it's being able to kind of sort through what is mine, what is somebody else's. And when aren't intentional about setting boundaries, when to hold space for other people's emotions and when to let go of those, this is when this becomes kind of this like really heavy energy on our solar plexus center. And it's totally going to affect things like your liver and your blood sugar regulation, your detox organs, and what your mineral balance is doing because we're holding on to so much. And and we hold that, and science is showing us now that we literally hold on to emotions as chemicals in the body. We are storing these emotions as chemicals, as toxins in the body. So how do we kind of navigate through this, right? So if you have an open or undefined emotional center, the kind of the not self, all of the centers have a not self theme. So it's kind of like the shadow side of what happens in this particular center. For this center, it's avoiding confrontation or avoiding the truth. And so you might find with an open emotional center that you have a hard time with hard conversations or confrontation. And again, it just gets stored in the body. If we're not letting it out, we're not having the hard conversations, it's going to get stored in the body. Again, we're holding on to those toxins, those chemicals in the body because we're not letting them out. So it's being able to have the capacity to have those conversations and being able to understand people's emotions without taking those on as our own, and having the hard conversations, the confrontation or whatever, without allowing people's projections to go, like internalize people's projections, right? And take that in as part of our emotional body, because it's not. And so I think that when we're able to, again, about the boundaries, no, set boundaries with the root center, but boundaries as well for this, like set boundaries, physical and energetic boundaries, and being able to, you have like, who are the like energetic vampires in your life, right? The people who just really suck the energy, or people that it just feels heavy to be around in your body. Like that's when you know it's taking a toll on your emotional body, when it just feels heavy or draining. Like, those people in your life, and you need to set boundaries. When is a good time and not a good time to be around those people? You've got to be able to set boundaries. Um, Being able to take stock throughout the day, like checking in to feel like, how is my solar plexus, right? How is my emotional body feeling right now? Have I been taking on other people's emotions? Especially as, if you're working with people, you're a coach, entrepreneur, you have interactions with a lot of people throughout the day. Like that's a lot of energy that you're taking. I know for me, I personally have an open emotional center, solar plexus, and I have to check in myself. And sometimes sessions with clients, like when I'm doing quantum healing sessions and they're like unloading and dumping all of these heavy things, like I really have to like do my own due diligence and kind of disconnect from that before going on to the next thing in my day, because I can hold on to that and just feels like a heaviness, right? Also being mindful about your decisions with an open emotional center. And then, I mean, this goes for everyone, but especially true for you, is understanding how you make decisions and not making decisions from an emotional place, like allowing yourself to kind of get to an emotionally neutral place when you're making decisions, and not making decisions from an emotional place, because again, this is just going to kind of amplify, like kind of like escalate the energy going on in this particular center, and then you end up kind of potentially making misaligned decisions that aren't in aren't in alignment, aren't in your best interest, just because we're doing it from an emotional place. And then here's the other thing with an open center. I think a lot of times when we're able to amplify and feel other people's emotions, we also like want to fix other people's emotions. And you're not here to do that. None of us are here to do that, but especially recognizing that with an open center, because when you get into a place where you feel like I've got to fix other people's emotions, you're going to start taking on, right? You're going to take on their projections, and you're taking on more emotions that aren't yours. And B, that's even more resistance for you, because you're trying to fix something that's not yours to fix, right? So it's going to end up being a lot of frustration, you meaning a lot of frustration and trying to fix people, rather than just letting them kind of be on their own journey and maybe offering a supportive ear or whatever, and not taking that on yourself. So that is the solar plexus center. So that was calcium, magnesium, cobalt, selenium. Those are minerals that we would all look at there. So next one is the throat center. The throat center is associated with your thyroid. Very powerful center of the body, affects a lot of other hormones in the body. And that's the other thing I want to say on this. Like, we can break down these particular centers, but the fact is that all of these are related. So like the thyroid, for example, if your thyroid is out of whack, it's going to be affecting so many other things. It could potentially be affecting your adrenals, your pituitary, your pancreas, your adrenals. I think I said adrenals. Like, it can affect your thymus, which is for your immune system. Like, it's so many things it can affect. So that being said, we're looking at your throat center. This is associated with your thyroid, which is responsible for metabolism. The minerals that we're going to see on the HTMA, they're going to give us an indication that your thyroid is out of balance, are going to be potassium, calcium, and selenium. Potassium and calcium have this special relationship. So we're looking at that ratio. And then selenium we're looking at because we need selenium for the T3, T4 transport and conversion and all that. So we want to look at these three minerals specifically to see how your thyroid is functioning. And when we're seeing that the balance is off, this is a good indication. Okay, let's look at the energetic body. What's happening here in the throat center that we need to address? So here, there's two parts of this I want to talk about. With the defined throat center, meaning on your chart. So the throat center is literally the little square that's around the throat if you're looking at your body graph. So with the defined throat center, it means that you have this fixed way. You speak in a fixed way with the energies flowing from the centers that it's connected to. And I'm going to call all of those out in a second. So there's a specific way you're meant to show up. There's a specific way you're here to speak. And the energy, you are meant to bring forth your ideas. Like you're meant to speak those into life. Like you're meant to speak those, that you don't have to wait to be recognized or wait to be like for the invitation to speak. You have the ideas you're meant to speak. So if you're looking at your chart and you have your throat center is the little box, right, where your throat is, and there's different gates, you'll see the different little dots, and you'll see some of those might be colored in and they might be connecting to other centers in the body. So you can get a good indication of how you're meant to use your voice. It's all about using your voice. Literally, throat energy is like using your voice and speaking your truth, speaking your authentic truth. It's your manifested center, right? So how we bring things to life. So when you're looking at what it's all connected to in your chart, so if you're looking, it's connected to your G center, which is right below. This is the energy to express yourself and provide direction. So you're meant to use your voice to express yourself and provide direction in life to other people. If it's connected to your solar plexus, which we just talked about, it's your energy is to share your emotional process and wisdom. So you're meant to speak out your emotional process and wisdom to other people. If it's connected to your spleen, which is on the opposite side of your body graph from your solar plexus center, you're meant to share your intuition and instincts. So spleen is the center for intuition. So you're meant to share that, speak that to life. If it's connected with your heart center, right below the throat center, you're meant to share your desires and will. And if it's connected to your sacral, which we just talked about, that's one that's above we haven't talked about that. It's above your root center at the bottom, so second center up. You're meant to share your life force energy, what you're excited about, what you're passionate about, what's lighting you up, what's bringing you joy. You're meant to share those. So that's how you're meant to use your voice. Now, if you don't have all of, any or all of those connected, but your center is defined, you're meant to use your voice. Like that's what the Divine Throat Center is. I've worked with a handful of clients over the past couple of years who have either come off the heels of being in a narcissistic relationship or they're healing from past narcissistic relationships. And the crazy thing is, I can't make this up. Every single one of them has had crazy things going on with their thyroid and crazy things going on with their metabolism. Like I can't make it up. It's the truth. So the fact is, when you're in a narcissistic relationship, you lose your voice, right? You kind of forget, you kind of lose this little piece of identity and you lose your voice. And these clients that I worked with, all of them, there's been three over the past probably year and a half. All of them, that was really a big part of it for us, was helping them find their voice again and helping them. Obviously, we're healing the physical pieces because it led to, again, a lot of this cascade of things going on in their body. But it's how can we become connected with that part of us again and find our voice and be able to speak our truth and speak the truth from our authentic selves. This is a big part of how we're meant to show up. And especially when you have this center defined, like you are meant to speak, you are meant to use your voice. And this is, again, this is one of the reasons I have a podcast. Like I'm meant to speak. I have a defined throat center. Like your defined throat center has a lot of power. And when we deny that, we shut it down, we cover it, we deny it, we push it aside. This is going to show up on the physical body. And most likely, again, because it's connected with the thyroid, your throat center has such a strong connection to your thyroid, it's going to affect how you're metabolizing. And even if it's not showing up like, full on like diagnosis of hypothyroidism, whatever, like I said, it's connected to so many other things. It could show up as multiple ways in the body, your adrenals, your pituitary, your thymus, there's a lot of ways, your sacral, there's a lot of ways that it could show up. So when you have, I want to speak to the undefined throat center. So when you have the undefined throat center, because similar things can happen with this, undefined meaning that your throat center is white, it's not colored in. This means that you amplify the voices around you. And kind of this the you do best when you're invited or recognized to speak your truth, right? You a lot of times with this center, when it's undefined, you kind of feel this pressure to speak and share, but when it's right, not the right time, it's kind of like your voice kind of falls on deaf ears, and it can kind of end up being like again, it's kind of a forceful thing. It's going into force. You're going to meet a lot of resistance there, and it's going to become frustrating to you. So it could show up as like, you know, like being really loud because you feel like this need to be, this pressure to speak and be seen. But when you have an undefined throat center, it's that's really not how you're meant to use your voice. It's really about leaning into your strategy and authority, which is a conversation for a whole other day about human design, but leaning into your strategy and your authority to know when the timing is right to use your voice and speak, because your words are no less impactful than those who have a defined throat center. But for you, it's all about the timing and like I want to say the audience, like those who are meant to hear it. And so it's again, knowing when the time is right and being able to speak your truth with that. And so when I really feel like, especially as women, when we can learn how to use our voice, like everything changes, and we can create so much balance and ease in the body when we really can learn how to tune in to our voice and know how to use our voice. So the last one I want to talk about here, I think it's the last one. Yes, the last one, making sure I didn't leave any out, is I'd say probably, I don't want to say most important because it's not, but probably the most common because I see it the most, is your sex hormone balance, right? A lot of women come to me because of their hormones. And at this point, you've probably seen me say it a million times that your hormones are never the issue. Like the hormones are always another symptom of what's going on in the body. But we can look at your HTMA and we can look at a specific balance of minerals to see what's happening with your sex hormone balance. Now, what center is responsible for your sex hormone balance? It's kind of a combination, but the main center is going to be the sacral center. Your sacral center is responsible for your reproductive organs. That's the glands that are associated with the sacral center. And so there's a strong connection between the balance of our sex hormones and what's going on in your sacral center. Our sacral center is the center for life force energy and sexuality and creativity and sustainability. It's kind of, for those who have a defined sacral, it's like your motor, it's like your generator that keeps you going. That life force energy is just consistently flowing. When we're looking at the HTMA to see how these systems are functioning, we're looking at the relationship between zinc and copper. Zinc and copper have a very specific relationship, a very special relationship. And when this ratio is out of balance, this is a good indication that it could be either estrogen dominance, potentially low progesterone, or just overall just kind of imbalance with the sex hormones. So the other thing I want to look at here too, there's actually two parts to this. The other one to look at here, looking at your sacral center, and not specifically for sex hormones, but just in terms of life force energy, is looking at your ratio between sodium to potassium. This is considered your vitality ratio. And since the sacral center is kind of this vital life force energy, this is really also going to give a good indication on how you're using that life force energy. Or, are you running low on that, vital life force energy? We call it vital reserve. Like, how much vital reserve do you have left in your body? When we're low on vital reserve, it leaves our body more susceptible to other imbalances in the body. So let's look at how this shows up energetically. So those are the things we're looking at, right? On the HTMA, we're looking at zinc and copper. We're looking at sodium and potassium. And then we can look at, okay, there's something going on with this center in the body. And I'll say I would say the root and the sacral, they talk to each other a lot. They have a really close relationship. So I'm also going to look at that as well. So if there's something going on in the sacral center, I'm also going to look at the root center, because the adrenals and all your reproductive organs, like they work so closely together. Like we have to rely on the adrenals to make progesterone. And then when we get up to menopause, postmenopause, we have to rely on the adrenals to make, what little estrogen we have left. Like we have to look at the health of both of those. We can't separate them. So I would be looking at, again, both the root and the sacral center for this. So when you have a defined sacral center, again, this is this really intense source of life force energy, the source of power, and really the source of power and influence over those around you with this really abundant amount of creative life force energy. So sacral beings, those who have a defined sacral, have a lot of energy and a lot of this life force energy. We're the doers, right? It's generators, it's mani-gens, like we're the doers. We get things done. We have this life force energy that's constantly flowing through us. So the energy is sustained when we're doing something that excites us, and we're doing something that lights us up. However, it has to be this deep satisfaction and something that's bringing out like this deep personal expression to keep that sustained energy. It's when you get to the point where you're doing things just for the sake of doing things, or you're saying I can, and can and should are two different things, right? We're doing things just because you can, or just because you do have the energy, versus does it feel good? Does it light me up? Does it excite me? Right? This is when we start to meet resistance. And this is when, really, for me, generators and mani-gens that I've worked with, this is when those two types experience the most burnout, is when they're doing something that no longer lights them up. They're doing something that doesn't excite them. It's not creating this kind of lift in their sacral center. It's not exciting them in that way. And they start to meet resistance because they're doing things, again, if it doesn't feel good to your sacral, it doesn't light you up, it's not bringing you that joy, that satisfaction, it's not right for you, or it's not the right time, right? One of the other. And so this is going to create a lot of resistance, and you're going to end up kind of burning out that generator motor in your body. And it's going to lead to things like burnout, issues with your reproductive organs, right? Sex hormone balance. A lot of this stems from this overuse of this vital life force energy because we're doing things that no longer excite us. So the sacral center, when it's defined, is really the most influential center in the body, because this is what's literally driving us to get things done and do things. When we have that center, it's pure power, life force energy, like that. It's literally generating energy. And so if you're feeling frustration, dissatisfied, like just kind of like feeling that stuck energy, especially if you have a defined, which is going to be mani-gens or generators, this is really a sign like we need to reassess things. Like, where are we doing things that are out of alignment? Where are we pushing and doing things when internally it's a no, but we're saying yes? Because it is, I can promise you this, I can say this, I don't speak in generalities a whole lot, but I can say this: every generator or mani-gen that I've worked with that have had like sex hormone things going on, whether it's like terrible periods, PCOS, endometriosis, like really bad estrogen dominance, all of them, this is where we were. It was like, let's assess your life right now. Like, let's see, where are you running your sacral to the ground and doing things that aren't in alignment? Like, where are you doing things that don't light you up anymore? So let's talk about if you have an undefined sacral, because there are plenty of people who don't have a defined sacral. So this doesn't mean you lack life force energy. This doesn't mean you don't have creativity. It doesn't mean any of that. When you have an undefined sacral, basically it means kind of like the undefined root center that I talked about. You're able to amplify the life force energy of those around you. Similar with an open root, like you're able to recognize and kind of feed off of other people's life force energy, which again is there's kind of a blessing and a curse to that, because yes, it gives you the energy to like get things done, this kind of sustainable energy for up to a point to get things done, but it's not sustainable in the long run. So it does eventually run out. And so your energy is going to kind of come in bursts or spurts or like phases or waves. And you have to be able to be in tune with your body to recognize when that burst is done or when that wave has passed. And when you're no longer feeding, you've gone past the point of like feeling comfortable in your body, sacral with it, right? The shadow side of this, or like the wisdom of this open center, undefined or open sacral center, is learning when enough is enough, like hitting the pause button or the stop or the pause button, and knowing that in order for that to keep going, you have to rest and recharge. It's not that same, like for a generator and mani-gen, it's basically like we go to sleep, wake up the next day, and then I say we, because I'm a mani-gen. We go to sleep and wake up the next day, and then it's like we've recharged our batteries because we went to sleep, and that's, recharge. It's not the same for projectors and reflectors and manifestors, right? You have to kind of wait for those waves to come back. And so it's understanding how to recognize, like, where am I forcing things? So for those of y'all who are watching or listening and you're a projector, a manifestor, or reflector, it's really easy for y'all to get caught up in the hustle culture, because 60% of us are mani-gens and generators, and we're like running the hustle culture, basically. Like, that's where the pressure comes from. It's this generator energy to just get stuff done and go, 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 do all the things. And so there is a lot of unlearning that has to happen with the other three types, because it will inevitably turn into something like things going wrong with your hormones. And like I said, this is one of the things I see the most, because first of all, a lot of us are so disconnected from our bodies and from our sacral centers. But two, there just that pressure, right? We're just in the hustle culture pressure to get things done when it's not necessarily aligned for us. And I'm not saying it's aligned for many gens and gens. Like the hustle culture thing is like it's not for women in general. It's not, but it's just a different. There's a different approach to the energy when you're a generator or a mani-gen. So when you have the undefined or open sacral center, you again taking note, like when is it time to rest? When am I gonna say enough is enough? When am I gonna take a rest? And giving yourself time to recharge and really listen to your body and honor your limitations, your boundaries, right? So things to think about, kind of things to unpack here for those, especially with the undefined or an open or undefined sacral center. Do you allow yourself rest? Do you allow yourself time to rest and recharge? Are you drinking a lot of caffeine? Caffeine is a stimulant to the adrenals, and it's going to give you a good burst of energy, and then it's going to leave you crashing later on. This is a really, really good question to ask yourself. I would say those with an open sacral and open root center, because the root center is connected with the adrenals. Like, I'm not saying, I'm never going to say no one should ever drink caffeine, but like it's something to really be mindful about and to be thoughtful of when and how you're using caffeine, because it can just cause your body to run into overdrive really fast, a lot faster than maybe someone with a defined root center. Do you feel like, for those with an open or undefined sacral center, do you feel like you push yourself to keep working even when you don't have the energy? Right? And especially if you have an open sacral and an open roots, if you're looking at your chart, it's the bottom square and the one right above that. Both of those are open. Girlfriend, like we got to set serious energetic boundaries, because then like there's really some limitations we got to put on yourself here, and knowing that you could very easily run yourself ragged and run yourself into burnout really quick. Are you able to say no? Are you able to set boundaries? Are you able to release FOMO and just release this fear you have of missing out, and knowing that like my energy is not going to let me participate in this right now, right? Are you able to listen to your energy and honor it? And here's the other thing, and this is a rule for everybody, but especially with an undefined circle, because there's a lot of conditioning or deconditioning that has to happen, and kind of untangling where this like perpetual need to keep doing and creating and doing and creating, be productive and blah, 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 just keep going. Are we able to listen to our body, and not only listen to, but also honor what it's telling us to do? Because there's one thing just to listen to it, but it's another thing to actually act on it and do something about it. So that is, in a nutshell, how we are looking at the HTMA. We're connecting that to your human design. So I just listed off a whole bunch of minerals within each center, right? Be able to look at zinc and copper, sodium, potassium, magnesium, and selenium, and calcium, and phosphorus. Like there's so many things to look at here. But for me, it's equally as important to look at the HTMA, look at your results of your HTMA, see what's happening in the body, and then let's look at your human design chart. Let's put these pieces together. Let's see why your adrenals are totally shot. Like, let's look at your centers to see what patterns are showing up, like how we should be using our energy, where we're not using our energy effectively, where are we using energy in, the wrong place, and how can we make shifts, and how can we dive into these different aspects of your chart to find where your gifts are, and how your energy can be used more productively, and looking at your environment, and your environment where you're working in, where you're sleeping, and where you're doing, like there's so many aspects to look at that can make such a difference when we're looking at balancing minerals. The balance in the body really does start with the minerals. And I said that at the beginning, like they are called the spark plugs in the body for a reason, because nothing can happen in the body without the right mineral balance. And jumping straight to like, let's fix the hormones is not going to do anything if we haven't addressed what mineral imbalances are causing the hormones to be out of whack in the first place. You can't build the hormones without the minerals. And we have these minerals that build into these cofactors and these different vitamins that are required to move and transport and make these hormones. Like, right? It all starts with the minerals. And then it all goes down to, again, you at a DNA level energetically, what's happening to cause these imbalances. So I would love to know your thoughts on this. I'd love to know any takeaways you can share in the comments. If you're interested in diving more into this, if you're interested in talking about an HTMA, so I have like full-on programs with multiple labs and stuff, but I also have an HTMA test package, which is just doing just this one single lab, HTMA We get a call together to talk about your results. You get a protocol, you get a little support after that. And then I also have the quantum reset, which is putting together these energetic pieces. So basically combining what I talked about, the human design, and with things like the HTMA. If you just want to do the HTMA, we can do that, or if you want to add other labs, but it's putting all the pieces together. So what I'm saying here, we're looking at the labs, we're seeing what physically is going wrong in the body, and then let's put it together to see what energetically is kind of leading to this. And then we do the work, the subconscious energetic work to help untangle those patterns, undo the things that caused the imbalances to happen. Let's, work to decondition and pull things out of the subconscious that are kind of leading you into these patterns and these beliefs and stuff that are leading to these imbalances in the physical body. So a couple different options for you there. If you want to dive into this work deeper with me, you can send me a DM. You can just DM me the word reset and we can talk about different options. And again, I'd love to hear your takeaways, comments on this. And I'd love to know what you want to know about more. If you want to dive into more talks about the mineral levels, HTMA, and kind of tying that to the human design. And I'll see y'all on the next training.
Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I'd love to know what you find useful in these episodes so I can know how to provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics you'd like to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's at the Hope Pedraza, or you can visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.